Hey Wagon Tails family, I'm Chaz Bellman, your Director of Sales, and I'm not usually a particularly snazzy dresser, but I'm extra dressed down today, and that's because I have a 2-day, 12-hour road trip ahead of me. We're going out to see Chris and Emily Elias, owners of the Rough Life, and a power couple in the mobile grooming industry. They've acquired over 20 vans and changed many lives, and have a great outlook on the future for mobile grooming. They've invited us into their home, so let's ride.
All right, so first off, thank you both for having us here. Obviously, I know you guys are probably the busiest couple in mobile dog grooming, so it's like, first off, I appreciate you taking the time. So before you build up to where you guys are today, take me back, start me with your childhood. Were you a big fan of pets and animals, or what did childhood look like?
Okay, so definitely no pets. Not even a fish, not a single pet in my life, ever once. So I was never a pet person. I just wasn't. Growing up, I didn't even know what it was to have a dog. Never really, actually was scared of dogs my whole life, believe it or not. And before you know it, met my better half. And it was one of the requirements in order to marry Emily was that we had to get a dog. So obviously, her being a dog groomer, there was no negotiating. If I wanted to marry her, I had to get a dog. So we negotiated on getting a dog, I guess we can call it. Minnie is our little prog ratter. It's a very rare breed from the Czech Republic, and she weighs 3 pounds. There's under 500 of them in the United States, and to me, she's not even really a dog, but considered a dog, so I tried to find the smallest thing that would be a dog and not really a dog. And that's pretty much our one and only baby that we have.
Gotcha. So yeah, so when I got here last night, you walked out back, and all of a sudden I see this dog at the door, and I was like, I've never seen a dog that small. So it was kind of, I didn't know
She didn't have
whatever thing, because it's yeah, because I was like, that's a gerbil or something outside, but it looks very well trained. Let it come inside. So having not been into pets, obviously when you were younger, what was, kind of as left high school and schooling and stuff, where you got into the business? What industries were you involved in life prior to getting into the dog grooming industry?
I've been in business my whole life, since I was as little as I can remember, in business, 5, 6, 7 years old, making games in my room with my siblings, charging them $0.25 to shoot basketballs, and if they got it in, they got $2. And all the way up to selling gum out of my locker, to selling burnt CDs, to ice cream shop, coffee shop. I was in the restaurant business for 10 years in my 20s. I pretty much did it all types of service businesses, blacktopping, shrink wrapping, pool safety fences. I just live for business. I eat, sleep, breathe since as little as I can remember. Business is my life.
Gotcha. So take me back, let's say, who is Chris Elias 10, 15 years ago? Where are you at in life? What are you doing? And where did those businesses go?
15 years ago puts me at 25. Yes, I'm 40. 25, I was in Chicken Holiday, a franchise restaurant. I had 2 of them, 2 locations on Long Island. Flourishing restaurant business. Built them up, sold them, and basically went into the service business. And at 27, started doing outdoor service businesses like power washing, shrink wrapping, blacktopping. So completely different industry, completely different world, but amazing. Just a completely different, restaurant is a lifestyle, and that's kind of difficult to sustain forever.
So the experience you had from the service industry, obviously, with you and your wife being a partner, her loving animals, and I assume was a groomer when you met her, is that correct?
Yeah, she was a groomer when I met her.
Gotcha. So what skill set and things did you learn throughout that service industry that you have parlayed when you got into the mobile dog grooming industry?
Well, being in the service business, you realize what people want, what people need, what services are worth to you, what you're worth to people. And that is the most important part of a business, because that's the foundation of setting up the business and making the right pricing, making the right structure, it's everything. At the end of the day, it's literally everything that you could need, minus the skill to actually do the service.
Gotcha. And what was the time that you decided to jump
into the mobile grooming industry? Was Emily mobile when you met her, when you guys got married, or how did that come about?
We were just boyfriend, girlfriend. 2016, she was working for corporate big box, and she wanted out. They were just kind of, it's the corporate world. No one wants to be in it. She wanted to get out of it. And we kind of were playing around with ideas of brick and mortar or mobile. I personally don't like brick and mortar, being that I was in the restaurant business for 10 years, life sentence. You're kind of like, it's it's a lifestyle. You got to be there 7 days a week.
And that's
no
a
freedom.
cutthroat industry, one of the toughest, correct?
100%. If you could do restaurant, you could do anything, or at least I thought that until I got into this business. But you're in the restaurant business, it's like you're sentenced to that place. It is what it is. So for me, having mobile businesses, service businesses, allowed me and showed me over the past 10 years the freedom that I can have of being able to make my own hours, do what I want, when I want, go away whenever I want, and literally live the life I want and made work around my schedule rather than me be a slave to my work.
Gotcha. And so like now, obviously you're in, 2 locations, over 20 vans, you've grown, over 7 to 10 years now. What did that initial process in the first van look like? And what were some of your like fears and apprehensions as you entered into this industry?
Well, first of all, the biggest fear for me was trying to swallow the $100,000 price tag on a vehicle. And I just couldn't do it. We tried to go to Wagon Tails and, research companies. There was only, I think, 1 or 2 at the time that we came across. We just thought Wagon Tails was a prettier design. A lot of people had good feedback online about it. So we kind of just went with that. But initially, we were just having a hard time understanding that, it's scary to spend $100,000. And that's somebody like, and it's not like we were completely broke. We had money, and like, it was still a scary move to put down, $20,000 and take a loan with interest and just get a van. And next thing you know, are you going to make it? I mean, the problem in this industry, there was no pricing, there was no structure, there's no guidance. So no one really told you how much to charge for a small dog. So we were calling around, we're trying to compare it to brick and mortar, we're trying to compare it to my service businesses. The numbers weren't really adding up. So for us, it was like, we kind of just were like, the more we absorbed it and tried to digest the thought of it, and the more, we're like, well, this is going to make us money. So these vans, I think what really made me realize is I went to try to buy a used one from Wagon Tails, and the price tag was like $2,000 less than a brand new one. And I'm like, okay, I'm sold now, because if their value is held that much, because normally you buy a car and it loses 10K the second you turn the ignition on. I mean, for a truck to go out, leave your facility, be on the road for a year, have 3,000 miles on it at 150 hours on the generator, and it's selling for 2 to 3K less than sticker. First of all, I'm not even interested in that. That's just telling me how highly valued and how much they retain their value. So for me, it was just like, okay, let's do it. And we pulled the trigger on a brand new van, because I believe that if you're going to open up a business and start it, you want to go with the best. You want to have the cleanest setup. You want to have the most professional van with going to give you the least amount of issues, which is why we went with a brand new Ford Transit at the time.
So at what point was it that you realized, after having one, where you kind of got your traction and, saw it start to grow, and then kind of got the vision for what you become today?
Never had the vision of what we were becoming today. So it was a hobby. I actually lent Emily money because she didn't have the full deposit to put down. I actually had to put the business in my name because she didn't really have the credit to sustain. I did. So we kind of went into it together. Again, I was still, even that day, and I'll never forget the day we flew in and they picked us up and we went down to your facility. Jamie was the service tech that helped us, get through the whole paperwork and everything. And we went in there and he just, I don't know, he was loving me and I was loving him. And even though I was like really nervous and, didn't think, to me, it was just, as long as she can just make at least what she was making in corporate, it's fine. It's a hobby. At least she can make her own hours, make the same money, or even a little bit less. It's totally fine. At least she's her own boss with freedom. So that was the goal, to be able to get her out of corporate, put her in her own thing, and let her do what she loves to do and the passion she has. And money really wasn't on my mind, but I knew that I'm not going to fail. I'm going to make it happen. So we basically, we signed everything and we left. And right before I left, I'll never forget, Jamie turned around and he shook my hand and he's like, I'll see you in 6 months. And my exact reaction to him was, let me tell you something, not even close. I'm like, I don't even want this thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like in my head, I'm like, I was so nervous to even, and I'm not one to really get nervous. I'm usually good with like confidence and and knowing what I'm getting myself into. But he called it. He said, I'll see you in 6 months. I said, not even close. And it was 7 months later. We got the van. The phone was ringing off the hook. Obviously, the demand on Long Island was explosive back in 2017, in January 2017, when we got our van. Couldn't keep up with the phones. And me being, I'm like playing secretary, mechanic, generator guy. I was playing every role you can. Obviously, Emily was the most amazing groomer that you can have. So there was, it was all good. And she got a helper to help her in the van. And the helper loved the whole mobile world because Long Island, that was the first transit that they shipped out here in 2017. There was no other transits. There was no other new grooming vehicles on the road that were wrapped the way ours was, with the same business model we had, where it was like paperless, waivers, credit cards, Apple Pay. Everything was completely seamless and futuristic in 2017. And clients loved that. They ate that up. The demand was there. So that groomer wanted to go out on her own at some point. And at that point, we knew like we couldn't keep her in the van as a helper because she's a groomer. So we're utilizing a groomer as a helper when she could really be going out on her own and actually helping us make this thing a better situation. We just didn't want to lose her. So we ordered a second van and went down, picked it up again, gave the helper, the other groomer, the new van, and Emily kept the old van, and she was helpless again. So we had to find another helper, put the other helper in, and the cycle just viciously continued. 25 groomers later, 8 years later, and it's just one crazy cycle.
And you did snowball probably in the best way.
Yeah.
As you mentioned there, getting a groomer in and then, putting your wrap and stuff on it. How important is that professionalism and, let's say your price structure and having those things ahead of time to building your business?
Well, image is everything. Image is everything. So when you're wanting to start out, it's all about the image that you want to portray to your clients, the clients that you want to service, right? So when you pull up and your van is old and rusty and just disgusting and you're not dressed properly and the whole image is just not what it is. You know what I mean? You're not going to be able to charge $150 for a small dog because your image doesn't call for that. But when our girls, and again, for me, it was like I did my research on pet grooming and I realized whether it was brick and mortar or mobile, it didn't matter. Anything in the pet grooming industry was completely cartoony, colorful, just not my type of look. I'm more about the upscale, spa, brown, earth tones, like, the fancy, just a nice, warm environment that like people would look at and wow, that is a really nice, like, it's just nice. It's appeasing. It's appealing to the eye. So that's why we did a beautiful wrap that was very new looking and very, up and coming. And we put even our embroidered shirts, jackets. These are how our groomers go to work every day with really nice clothes. They feel good. They look good. And that's why we can charge what we charge, because at the end of the day, it's the image that we want. People want to pay for somebody that looks the way we look and giving them the service that we're giving them. So I think it's very, very important.
Yeah, I think one of the good things just from talking to you previously is knowing your worth. I think some of the conversations we've had, it's kind of cool because you'll happily turn away a customer if you need to, or if they cancel on you and disrespect your groomers. How important is valuing that skill set and knowing what you're worth and why you're worth it as you build a business?
Well, confidence is everything. That's it. So once you realize confidence is everything, the rest is just a joke. Everything else becomes so easy because you realize what you're worth. You realize that I'm a service professional. I'm coming to your house and performing a service that you can't do. So once you know and you believe in yourself, regardless how good you are, it's irrelevant. Whether you're a 6 groomer, 7 groomer, 8 groomer, 9 groomer, show groomer, it doesn't mean anything. You're still a service provider. You're still a professional person coming in a $100,000 rig, pulling up to your house and performing a service for 60 to 120 minutes. That is worth money. And once you realize that it's worth money or what it's worth, that's when people start charging their worth. And that is the most important. And everything always, like I always say, comes down to pricing. But pricing also works hand in hand with confidence. So if you're not confident, I only got out of grooming a year. Well, it doesn't matter. Once again, everyone has to start somewhere, right? The plumber that's going to come and do your faucet, at some point, he was, you were his first faucet that he repaired, and you were his first electric outlet that he replaced, and you were so it's not, it doesn't matter. You just knowing that you're a service provider, and that's, to me why I coach a lot of people and let them know that, know your worth. Like, have the confidence to know that you're a service provider providing an amazing service that client can't do. And you should be charging for it. No different than any other service professional in any other industry, regardless where you live.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize what a skilled labor that dog grooming is. It's super skilled. Yeah, it's essentially art, and so few people have the ability to do that. And I think for you, obviously, it's no secret that the hardest thing, when you get to the level of multiple vans, is hiring good groomers and keeping those people on. And I think one of the things I admire most about you is your drive and desire to better people's lives. So tell me a little bit about how you instill that confidence in those people, give them their worth, and then maintain them as an employee.
First of all, I can relate because my wife's a groomer, and I saw how hard she worked. I've ridden in the van for years with her and realized and saw the hard work. So big respect to every single groomer out there. I don't care quality. I don't care anything. They're some of the hardest working people that I've ever seen. So for us, knowing and recognizing that, we can relate to the groomers, where most businesses that do this, they really can't relate to the groomer unless they're married to a groomer or they are the groomer. So with that being said, we can relate. And for us, it's kind of easy because we can relate. So the groomers that we take on, groomers are everything. Without groomers, my parking lot will look like your parking lot. Brand new vans, beautiful, just all wrapped, but no groomers. Groomers are our whole business. Without the groomers, we are nothing. And we let them know that. We tell them every day, just like you. Without salesmen, without the people in the plant, there is no wagon tails. They can have a million orders, but they can't fulfill them. So just like us, our groomers are everything to us. So we put them through a really nice training, anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks, to get them to where they want, with completely just drilling into them everything that I've just been saying for the last bit, but like over a 10 to 12 week period, and letting them understand how we operate, letting them know we are service providers, how professional we are, the kind of business we run, the image we like to give, what we charge, why we charge it. Confidence, constantly boosting their confidence. They see it, they see the money they make, they see the way they're being treated, and they don't go anywhere. Our turnover is so little, it's not even anything to talk about. So our groomers don't leave us.
So yeah, like when a lot of people are getting into their second and third van, and they are worried about that, a lot of times if they're losing groomers, I'm always asking, like, well, how are you paying them? And I think you realizing the worth of the individual has set up your pay structure. But tell me about how you decided, what your pay structure is, if you do want to tell it, and how it's done, and why you decided on what you did.
Well, we offer a percentage because that's an industry norm. So we don't take anything off the top of the grooms. We don't try to come in with a higher percentage to make a groomer think that they're going to actually make more than what they make. Actually, we pay percentage, but we never talk percentage with groomers. We talk dollars, because at the end of the day, percentages don't mean anything to a groomer. It's just a number that really has no relevance to it unless we're talking dollars. So we try to break everything down from the second somebody goes into training, very transparently, what they're going to make from the second they step foot in that van to train in the passenger seat, their whole journey of training, all the way up to when they're out on their own by themselves. And we break it down by dollar. And that's a very important thing to do, because we have those numbers. Especially now, 20 plus groomers later, I can average out the slowest groomer to the fastest groomer to what they're going to make. I mean, the numbers now are very easy to spit out, but ever since day one, we've always given numbers out by dollars, just so that a groomer can understand, if I work 10 hours and I'm going to walk away with at least $23 an hour, and I work 10 hours, that's going to be at least $230. But if I tell her she's going to make 30% or 40% or 50%, she doesn't understand what that means, because maybe we're driving a lot. Maybe we're really close. Maybe we're only doing 3 dogs. So I try to break it down to the dollars. So we definitely give them that math so that they're able to understand how much they're going to be making. And one of our biggest reasons for success is transparency and communication with our groomers as well as our clients. But more importantly, the groomers, because everything we've ever promised them from our initial phone call, from screening them, has panned out right to this second to be 110% true. And again, groomers are who train our new groomers. So like anything else, if it wasn't true and they weren't happy, they wouldn't be passing it in training, because they're asking that girl, hey, how's the company? Hey, how are they paying you? And everything's been uniform. Everyone's been treated equal from employee 1 to employee today. has been paid the same for training, has been paid the same commission from start, has gotten the same raises at the same times. Nothing has been different. And we keep that consistency so that there's no favoritism, that no one thinks anyone's better than anyone else. None of that.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing too, the way you mentioned like saying it in dollars, because if, let's say a groomer's applying it 2 places and you bring that up and the other guy's like, well, I'm going to give you 50% of,
Right.
Well, if it's 50% of 2 dogs, that's enough.
I got a burger reality.
With your joke, you're like, yeah, like, all right, like go get your CDL at that point.
That's pretty much what they're facing.
So that hurts.
But you like dollars. You like to talk dollars with groomers because that's what they understand. When they work at big box stores, they're coming home after 5 days and their paycheck is $800 clear. That's all they know. That they know what they're taking home in their paycheck and their tips. So for us, I'm going to break it down just like that for them. This is what you're going to expect. Hourly training, tips is going to be this much, average is that much. And no one's ever said no. The numbers are amazing. We charge a real number for our service, which basically gives us the ability to hire almost any groomer, and no one ever is going to complain because we are charging high. And guess what? We have no turnover for that. So if we were charging little and less and we weren't confident or whatever, that's where the turnover comes in, because we're charging $80, $90 a dog and the groomers aren't making money. We pay our groomers very well. We work on very little profits, but we work on volume. I think the most amount of money we were making was when Emily was by herself in the van. One van, go out and groom 12 to 15 dogs in a day, 6 days a week. That was the most money we saw, but obviously it's a completely different business model now. But the point I'm trying to make is that we take care of our groomers because without them, there is no company. And once they realize that, and they know that we realize that, they understand that they're valued, appreciated, and taken care of.
And with that many groomers, obviously comes quite a few vans. So how have you taken to managing that fleet, as far as it goes for maintenance and, keeping an eye on the vehicles and making sure they're staying clean, up to date on service, etc. And what are some of the difficulties that you've had with that and how you've overcome them?
Difficulties? A lot.
Yeah.
No more tear. How do we maintain? Well, like everything else, as you grow, you put people in place to take charge of certain things. So we have a fleet manager that will go out and basically check all the vans for cleanliness and inspect the vans and make sure. We have a mechanic on call that if anything goes wrong, girl gets a flat on the road, he'll go and fix a broken latch, or anything mechanical will be fixed by mechanic on call. Also, anything that needs, groomers need help with any type of scheduling. There's 2 secretaries in the office, 7 days a week, 7 to 7. Obviously, any type of emergency, situation where requires my assistance immediately, they're just going to come right to me. But there's a chain of command kind of in the company that girls abide by, and they know where to go for who needs, what they need for that specific thing. But, we run, obviously, 20 vans is a lot of vans to have in a fleet. Minimal problems. Obviously, that's why we go with wagon tails. I mean, in my opinion, not because you're here, but I'm very happy with the units. I don't think there is any better unit than the Clean Power system. I'm a diehard fan. I'm selling 2021s and 2s of generator models to upgrade our system because to me, they're literally the most maintenance free. So maintenance free that we can run an operation in 2 states, 20 vans, 20 plus groomers, and kind of not really have to worry about generators and things breaking. It's such a simple, sealed, self-contained operation that I have 20 vans, so I can vouch. It's not like I have one and I don't know any better. It's like I'm at this point, it's like if things go wrong, I see it on a big scale. So I don't have any problems. We don't have any major problems like that. So we're very happy. And our girls take care of their vans because they're compensated well. That's their office. They live in those vans. They spend more time in those vans than they do in their house. So they clean them, they take care of them, they gas them, and they take them home. They wake up, they put on their beautiful uniform, and they go right to work from home.
And, with the, maintenance costs, paying employees, et cetera, how important as far on the finance side is, say, like your accounting and taxes and your systems that you have to keep your numbers and keep track of that?
It's a lot of systems, and my accountant just is like, all day, the numbers just,
Probably hates you, but...
Yeah. No, he doesn't hate me. He keeps charging me more every month.
Right, yeah,
so the city loves saying. Yeah. But he's... It's good. I mean, we account for everything. And the biggest thing that, I think is the most important in this business, it's not even the accounting portion. It's accounting for the time that a van is down or a van is totaled or a dog is cut or a groomer's out sick, or you know what I mean? Like these are things that when you price your service, I'm always telling people that I coach that it's so important to price these things into the service so that when there is downtime, you're not running into a financial problem. And most financial problems that I've seen people run into usually could have been avoided if the price was correct from the beginning and not just price to compete with the competition or price to undercut someone else $10 or just price because they didn't even do any research or get a coach to help them price themselves or they just did what it is. I don't know, they just went with it and figured it out on their own.
Yeah, and speaking of downtime, you just had the scenario where a tornado in Florida took out one of your current vans.
Yeah.
So how did you handle that process when you know, obviously a groomer's without a van, you're without another van, you've got the process of dealing with insurance, and we all know how fun that is. And then, you know, getting another van and getting it back on the road. What's your preparation, or when something like that happens, what do you jump into action and do?
That's never happened in 8 years. Yeah, it was the first time. It was October 10th, I think, and tornado did hit Florida. It did pretty much total one of our vans. It's been a while now. It's still in the shop. Still insurance we're still fighting with insurance. Insurance companies, they don't want to pay, and they're looking for a reason to keep delaying the payment. But anyway, I have to jump into action. I have groomers that will leave me that if I don't get another van. So a groomer cannot be out of work for 6 or 8 weeks. It's just not a thing. So that van got totaled on a Sunday afternoon. I think I texted you Monday morning. I sent you a picture. I'm not sure what miraculous, cards. There was a van in the showroom that I guess was just ready to go out or swapped or whatever the case was that was ready to go. I think I had it in 6 days, and it was wrapped and basically in her driveway in 8 days. 8 days of downtime, and she used the other girl's van, which was fine for those days. So there was really no downtime. Obviously, it takes money to make that happen. It takes pre-planning to have that emergency fund for if and when a generator blows up or a van gets totaled. You have to be able to act quickly in these cases. Otherwise, the groomer's going to quit. Client's going to go somewhere else. That van is doing over 100 dogs a month. And, it's already been 2 months that van's been in the shop and not even looked at yet. So we're still fighting. But for now, you replaced it. Thank you. And quickly, which was the most important to us. And she's back on the road and she's making money. Company's making money. Everyone's happy.
And
obviously the other van will get fixed at some point, but we can wait on it. It's not a big deal. Once again, we're okay, thankfully, because we have other vans on the road. So.
And speaking of the joys of dealing with insurance, I know your fleet is set up with multiple insurance companies. So how you go about that? Where do you see the limits of one company versus another, and how do you decide who you go with for the insurance on these vehicles?
I went down every road of insurance. I've called every broker in the United States of America. I've searched high and low. I've probably been with every company. What happens is 1 van is never an issue. 2 vans is not an issue. 3 vans is not an issue. Once you start getting 4, 5, 6, you become you're looked at differently than if you had 1 van. Our first van was $1,700 a year. Obviously, second van became more, third, fourth, fifth, pandemic hits, whatever. Now you're talking about $10,000 a van. We split it up because if not, no company even wants that much liability on the road. Most companies are scared to take a company, even though our track record is clean as a whistle, minus one damaged vehicle from an act of God, right, or whatever, and a couple of people that hit us, just whatever. I mean, that's what you're paying for. But very minimal claims on insurance, and they still, I think it's just because it's a mobile business, young operators, and you're working in the van also, which creates more liability because people are in that van, in it, whether it gets hit, it's parked or not, you're in that van. So we just found that it works better when the vans are split up on different policies with different carriers so that they don't look at us as 20 vans. They look at us as 6 vans, 8 vans, and 5 vans.
Gotcha. So it's a good way to split it up.
Yeah.
Emily, do you want to come in and talk for a little bit?
So I ended up moving into the grooming salon, and I loved it. Because I can make my own money. It was commission based, so I worked my way up from there. I learned from there, and I groomed there for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
I worked my way.
You start when
up.
you're 10 years old.
When I was 18.
You guys aren't that old now.
Yeah, so I was there for 10 years, and then I worked my way up to the salon manager position. But, it's corporate.
Right. Yeah.
So, they were messing with my pay a little bit. They didn't like that I was a power groomer and I was hustling. I was making bonuses for how well the salon was performing. and they started trying to cap my pay a little bit. And at that point, we were dating. We started dating, Mr. Businessman over here. And he's like, you know what? You don't need that place. Like, we're gonna do our own business. You're killing it there for someone else. Like, we could kill it for ourselves. And that's how we started.
And like looking at you guys, obviously from the outside, like it seems to be very happy, healthy marriage. And I know a lot of times people's like, oh, I'd never get into investing or business with my wife. How have you guys, kept your marriage healthy, while doing it within the business? Because I'm sure there's days where things go wrong, and then how do you work it? Right, yeah. And like I've, just listened to your phone ring this morning, like,
Oh no, that's nothing.
like it's all the time.
We have our own separate roles. Like everything, we're not really
We don't
stepping
overlap.
on toes at all. Like anything dog related, pet related, grooming related, it's me. Anything
Truck
business
related, client
call
related.
him. I want
Anything
nothing
else
to do
related
with
is
it.
me.
And throw 2 kids in the mix. I'm kind of busy with the kids as well. So, I mean,
It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Just like the restaurant, it's a lifestyle. And this more than anything, because like I said before, you think you could do food, you could do anything.
Yeah.
You could do the dog grooming business, you could literally do anything at that point.
Yeah. But we've been friends before, so like everything, I mean, our whole how we started dating as, going into a business venture together because we were only boyfriend girlfriend when we started the business. So it was fun for us, and that's how our whole relationship has kind of grown, is like, oh, we should do this and we should do this. And still to this day, we're like,
We're doing a new venture, but
we'll
we're not
go
going to give it away on
out to
this
a bar and we'll be like, oh my God, this is what we should do. And like, you get all hyped up. We hype each other up with ideas, and it's fun.
Yeah, and one thing I love and admire about both of you is your heart for people in the industry.
Yeah.
So, from the grooming aspect, how do you show that, and then, through coaching and teaching people to do this, to where you build those great employee relationships where they don't want to leave?
Well, I mean, I am a groomer, obviously. And Chris knows how hard I work, and we bust our ass every single day. Groomer fatigue is real. So he sees it in all of our employees, and he knows how hard every single groomer works for us. And he wants them to know how appreciative that we are for everyone. And, I think it stems from just being in it. It's like the rough life, how we started the rough life, we are a team. Like, we are a true, we're having a whole holiday party. We do
Sunday
fun
fun days.
raffles, Sunday fun days. Yeah, it's not just, they're not just employees.
It's not just
They're
work.
part of our family, and we want to make sure that everyone is happy.
Random bonuses, random Uber Eats orders to the job site when they're having a nervous breakdown from a dog that they just did. I mean, things that we've done, and it's like, we think about, what if I was there and I was having, and a guy just came banging on my door and has a burger and fries for me. Like, oh my God, that just made everything better. That's amazing,
They just turned around.
Okay, for $20, I put a smile on that girl's face. Does it really matter at the end of the day? She's definitely not going to leave. You know what I mean? Like, that goes a long way. And I do that not for anything other than, like, I get a high off making sure our groomers love what, and again, they don't, groomer from 8 years ago still with us.
Yes.
Delay.
That's awesome. So if I, let's say, for example, I'm Joe Schmo sitting at home and I don't have a lick of talent in dog grooming, never really got into it, but I think it looks like a good venture. How important is that first hire and having someone that does groom dogs and can, sympathize and have the compassion for what those people go through on a day-to-day basis?
Well, we don't really hire people without the experience. So you have to be a groomer. So Joe Schmo is not going to work for us.
Yeah.
We charge too much. We have too much of an image, and we can't hire that. You know what I mean? We're a high-end mobile dog grooming company. People are paying the price tag because they want that experience of 5+ years.
Yeah, so we'll hire groomers who have at least 2 years experience, and then that groomer with 2 years experience, we're still putting them for months of training in the truck. They're going to be riding along with me or one of the other groomers.
But, if I'm, say I'm in the medical field and I'm Joe Schmo and I have $100K and I'm going to start a business, it would be very hard for an individual that doesn't, have any experience at all in mobile to just get in and start hiring people.
You will probably fail, and these are the people that I coach. Unfortunately, you will probably fail.
Yeah, you really have to immerse yourself into the grooming world.
You can't relate because if you're Joe Schmo, you can't really relate to the groomers, how hard they work. You're just going to treat them like you treat anyone at a deli or at a baby. It's not, like this is a completely different industry world of people. So if you can't relate on a groomer level, your business will never be successful, period.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it without her. I couldn't relate to a groomer unless I met her,
And having a heart for people, and you brought up coaching. That's one of the coolest thing I like see in this industry is there's so much business to go around that it's not like, oh, hey, you're 15 miles from me. Like, I'm keeping all my secrets here. Like, you guys are both open and willing to share what's made you successful and what works well and what doesn't.
So willing that we've actually helped one employee in 8 years that wanted to actually have her own business and do it. We actually helped her set up her own business.
Really?
In the same town we live in.
Gotcha. And how is she doing fine now? I assume?
She's in an unmarked van because she only likes to work 3 days a week. I don't want to say that, she's happy, but probably wasn't, she branched off and did her own thing, but with someone else and it went south and then she ended up doing it on her own. I told her to do it on her own. I even actually offered to loan her the money that other person was going to loan her. Straight up. With no interest back or anything. Literally straight loan. Just don't do it with anybody else. Because this is not a partnership type of business. This is a husband-wife couple that is a groomer business person type of business. It's not a, hey, you want to partner with him and you guys put together $50K each and buy it's not that kind of business. You will never make money. It's not like that at all. It's not. It's just not. It's not. And I tried to let her know that and tell her, and obviously she's gonna do what she wants to do. But I did offer my expertise and try to help her, and whatever. But she's good. We still connect with her.
Gotcha. So with the coaching sessions, where's the main points where you see people failing where they shouldn't be?
Pricing. Personally. Pricing.
And
they don't know how to hire.
If they were priced right, the problem is when the truck breaks down or something happens or gets into an accident, that one-time thing, and it's just snowballs. They can't keep up after that.
That, and again, the bigger thing before even pricing, because you could price amazing, but, they're going to just go on Indeed. They're going to hire a groomer off a resume. If you're not a groomer, I'm going to come there and I'm going to give you my great Indeed resume that tells you I have 6 years experience. I've worked at 6 different places and it's fabricated amazing. And it's going to take me 3 hours to do a Yorkie. And you're going to be like, oh, cool. That's amazing. Good. Nice job. Looks great. Meanwhile, if you ask her, you should have taken 50 minutes and it looks terrible. Because that's a groomer going to tell you. Not you can't relate. Just like me, I don't really know what looks good and what doesn't. I could tell you that I think that dog looks good, but she'll tell you 6 things that are wrong with that dog, that where it needs to be perfected. So the quality of the grooming, and that's where I see a lot of people, they'll hire a groomer. I found a groomer, she's great. You think she's great.
Yeah.
You don't actually know if she's great. Yeah. You don't know haircuts. You don't know grooming. She's doing it in an hour and a half. That's amazing. You think that's amazing. It should be done in 45 minutes. Our girls are doing 8-9 dogs in a day. Your groomer's doing 4 dogs in a day. Why? She doesn't know what she's doing. And time is everything. Time is money, especially in this business. Every second counts. And that's what we drill into our groomers. They start early. They don't waste any time. And they're training. When you think about us paying a groomer $20 an hour to train in the van. So if you're a groomer with 3 years experience, you want to work for the company, I'm going to take you, I'm going to put you in a van. I'm going to pay you $20 an hour. Plus, you're going to split the tips with whoever you're working with. Average work day is 10 hours a day. You're going to work 5 days a week. Quick math. $20 an hour, 10 hours a day is $200 a day. 5 days a week is $1,000. You're costing the company $1,000 in profit, right? A week. So $4,000 in a month. The average training is 2.5 months. So we invest $10,000 per groomer to have them come work for us. Anyone else in this industry is telling you to come in the van. I'm going to show you how to use this thing in 3 days, the most, sometimes less, and go out, good luck, and go. And chances are they're going to either crash the van, they're not going to be efficient. And to us, I'll invest $10,000 in you because I know that I'm going to take you from a groomer who's doing 4 dogs, if I didn't invest $10,000 in you, to do 8 or 9 dogs. And that $10,000 investment is going to make me 10x when you're trained properly. So that's why we invest the time, the energy, and the money into these groomers. It is so important. I can't even tell you.
Yeah, and like you guys are saying, like most people on the street don't know what a
professional groom looks like. They know that, after this
I don't even know.
right, gets out of the van, Fido doesn't stink when he jumps in bed anymore. And like with investing that time into people, which I completely agree is the biggest thing in this industry, is making sure they're well trained and you maintain the employees. How do you find the balance with, again, quality versus time? And then let's say you have an employee that's taking a little bit too long, does a good job, but's taking too long. How do you guys have those conversations that, may be tough in some scenarios?
Well, once again, that's why our training is so long and intense. Like, we have girls out in the truck, anywhere from 2 months to 6 months we've had before.
Not everyone learns as quick.
Yeah.
Everyone
And
just...
until we are confident that you can portray us as a company the way we want it to be, it doesn't have to be a perfect groom. I'm not always looking for perfection every single time, because like you said, you might not know. Like you won't see that little hair sticking out of the tail. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
You can bring the dog back as long as the dog smells good, as long as you're presentable in front of the door. You're, hey, Fluffy, how are you doing today? You're personable to the client. That's what we want. It's not all about.
We
just
sell an
grooming.
experience.
Yeah.
We sell an experience. That's what we're selling. So for us, we train everybody to the fullest extent. There are some groomers who, let's say, are older that can't do it as quick as somebody who's half their age, right? Which is fine. They take 10 extra minutes a dog. So we give that groomer 10 extra minutes on every dog. It's not a big deal. Some groomers like an extra 15 minutes between dogs because that's what they like. No problem. Some groomers don't want to do big dogs. No problem. No matter what, we cater to our groomers. They pick the days they want, the hours they want, the dogs they want, the breeds they want, the breeds they don't want. You name it, you do it. We make it so accommodating, no one's saying no.
So, to go with the groomers and the relationships they have with the clients, how do you guys go about your hiring process and your interview process? Is it, you posting it on LinkedIn? Are you going into the local Petco and plucking the best one you see? How's that process work?
Now or in the past?
Yes.
In the past, we were sliding in DMs, a lot of sliding in DMs, a lot of scoping out groomers on social media and trying to find them and, finding ones that work around. And it was hard in the beginning because, you're trying to build a brand, you're trying to promise them something, and, they're also taking a leap of faith by quitting their job and coming on board and giving you that shot of hoping that it's going to be what you say it's going to be, because every groomer that you'll ask in our company at some point said that they thought it was too good to be true. Yeah, that's the number one thing. If you ask any groomer, line them all up, the number one thing, like you could say, that's like their slogan that they thought of when I thought it was just too good to be true. I was skeptical at first. Everything sounded way too good, and they're still here, and it's as good as it was when we told them it was. But now, today, we don't do any type of recruiting online. It's all word of mouth.
From groomer to groomer.
Yeah, so we actually have a waiting list,
They get
basically.
treated so well by us that, my friend that I used to work at the shop, she wants to come work for you. And it's like, and then her friend wants to go. And so now it's like, at one time, we actually had a waiting list of groomers because we couldn't train so many groomers at once.
We only train
Great
one
problem
at a
to
time.
have.
Yeah, it is.
Great problem to have.
We only train one groomer at a time. We focus our attention, energy, and money on one groomer at a time, put them through that training, couple months, push them out, and then get the next one in. And even now, the last one just got out of training, and there's actually 2 other girls that are in line that want to go into training, but we're just waiting for after the holidays.
Yeah, and it is funny you mentioned that a lot of them think it is too good to be true, because I remember in Hershey, sitting there, you're in the van,
Yes,
talking,
yes,
girl
yes.
comes up, like, I've got my own mobile business, but it's just not how, and you're like, I will buy your van, you can come work
I'll
for
buy
me.
you a van right now. I'll
You will
sign
make
it right now.
more than you're making right now. And like, I'm
true,
just like watching her react, and like she keeps asking all these questions, and
She's skeptical.
And I was like, do you realize what just got offered to you? Like, that is a once in a lifetime opportunity on a silver platter. Like, he's not messing around. Like that.
I can give you the 5 groomers I did it to in the past 1 year alone that will vouch for the opportunity.
Yeah, well, good to talk. Anyone gonna be here?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'd be great. Get to talk. Did that girl take you up on that then?
She did not yet. Nope. Wow. Nope.
That was.
But I still see her. I'm friends with her on Facebook.
Yeah.
She's waiting.
Yeah.
She's not. They all circle.
Yeah.
Come back.
Yeah.
They
It's
circle.
like I would have.
They watch. They come back.
Like knowing you guys, like as long as
She's right here. She's down the block.
Really?
Oh, yeah,
Like
she's right
2 years. It was like, how in the world are you passing this up? I would have been like, "Yep, I'll sign up today"?
I was right at the show. I was like, you're standing right there. I'm
here's
like,
my
I will
van.
buy this van. I'll buy
Yeah.
you this van right now. I will sign.
I
up,
would have
like-
gone and got it and drove it there that day.
100%,
Like if
100%.
you know, if she had the knowledge that I had and like
But
watched
that's
it.
what
last
makes her a
year.
groomer and not a business person. Because if she was as business savvy as he was, then obviously she would have jumped on it. But
Yeah.
as
Or she would've bought the van
groomers,
herself.
we're like,
Right.
"Ah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know."
Here's a $90,000 check. You'll get
Right.
paid more than you were making. Completely de-risked.
She's probably one more mental breakdown away from calling me,
Yeah.
That's
or one
usually
more
what it
mechanical
takes.
breakdown.
So next week or two, you're probably you're,
After the holiday burnout, for sure.
Yeah. With that, and again, you guys have gotten up to, I think, with over 20 vans now, location Jupiter, location in Long Island. What's the future look like for the Rough Life?
The future Rough Life is going to be big, I think. We're going to be franchising in 2025. We're going to take it basically across the whole United States. So we're going to open up franchising in 2025 to anyone who wants to basically duplicate the model that we've duplicated together. And the most important thing, we've been in business for running the Rough Life for 8 years now. And we've learned a lot. We were existent before the franchises that are out there now came about. We've watched them. We're watching what they're doing. And the only thing is, they don't have what we have, which is Chris and Emily power team at the top that's helping everyone else. So I feel like going into it with that is going to sell our brand more than anything out there because of the support at the top, that we will train the franchisees to think, act, talk, and walk like us, which will by default make them successschmo.
So,
And I don't even have to train them. I could just go in there and do it for them and just sit back and let me do it for you and collect on it.
yeah, so if I'm, Joe Schmo sitting at home, what's that going to look like of how I sign up with Chris and Emily to get my Rough Life started? Do you have that far of a plan ahead, or?
As far as how's it going to be? Well, it's going to be just like any other, buying into any other pet grooming franchise, no different. The pricing is going to be very competitive. The structure is going to be very competitive. The only thing that's going to change is that you're getting us versus getting an owner's manual, operations manual handed to you. And good luck finding a groomer. Good luck knowing anything about anything. They don't have it figured out. We have it figured out. And again, we've watched a lot of them close up franchises, unfortunately, right around us. I coach a lot of people and talk to a lot of franchisees that are struggling beyond belief because they just weren't sold what they were promised at the beginning. And we went down this road actually 3 years ago. We just didn't feel like it was the right time to get into it. Now seeing what we saw and what's been happening, definitely feel it's beyond the perfect time to get into it and get the people that want to get into the pet grooming space to basically duplicate, because people are looking at us anyway. They want to copy us. They want to duplicate us. And if they're doing it on their own and they're buying a Wagon Tails van for $100,000 and they're buying all the equipment and they're trying to find a groomer on Indeed and they're trying to do it all on their own, for X more, we can basically pretty much hold your hand the entire way and make sure you're going to succeed. And to make sure, we've even tested the model in 24. In 1 year, we went down to Florida, West Palm area, and we put one van as a test. And it's already on 4 vans, 5 groomers, and have another phone call on Monday with another groomer down there. So the model works. And that's no different than if you called me and wanted to open up a location in West Palm, and I got your first van and I put it down there and I got you that groomer, and it branched off to the second groomer, and I told you how to get to the third and fourth and fifth and 20th. So the model's proven already. I mean, we're running a multi-state operation, and no franchises are doing that where the franchisee owns in multiple states running this many vans with this many employees and not living basically in either state.
Right. And is there certain areas you want to target with that, or like markets that you see that haven't been tapped as well as they could be yet?
I think no matter where you are, honestly, I mean, obviously major cities are very, are key, right? Major cities have a lot of population, dense populations, but dog grooming has exploded since the pandemic. I mean, obviously, look at how many vans you guys are selling, look at the industry as a whole, it just exploded. So I think no matter where you go, the future is mobile. And I think brick and mortar is just dying out, in my personal opinion. I mean, it'll always be there, but I think less and less people, especially as the new generation of people are getting dogs, they're paying a lot of money for these dogs. They're prized possession, beloved babies. They don't want to just drop them off at a shop and have somebody that just came out of a school, work on them, or sitting in a cage for, 8 hours and for an extra $50, $80, $100. I mean, everything's so expensive today. It's like, it doesn't even matter. It's just part of life. You just get your mobile groomer to come and find the person that you trust. They'll come right to your house. Your dog's in the best care and everything's good. So we believe that no matter where somebody is, it's going to work. I mean, there's tens of thousands of groomers throughout the United States of America, and everyone's flourishing and, you know, booming and has clients, has a waiting list longer than long. So I think it's just going to come down to the investors or the groomers or the people that want to buy in at the time. And obviously we'll check locations and do our demographical research and make sure that it will sustain the competition around and do our part in making sure that they are successful. Because at the end of the day, if we're going to give this brand, and that was our biggest fear in not doing it 3 years ago, was we didn't want it to fail. And we were told that because we're so good at what we do you think you can actually train somebody to think, act, and be like you guys? And that kind of scared me a little bit, because I don't know if I, at that time, could have done that, because I haven't done it in multi-state. I haven't done it remotely. We haven't done it in a different way. So I was like, let's do it in a different way, test it, and see if we can actually make this thing happen. And we use Florida as like the test spot of basically going in there as like an investor with a van, brought a van down there with no plan, nothing, no groomer, literally just drove a van to Florida, parked it in a parking lot, and got online and started doing our research and just figured it out. And we figured it out very easily. Now that we know how we figured it out, I could put that anywhere. I mean, there's a lady in Colorado who's basically just about to pull the gun and you know, jump on with us, which would be no different than Florida, Tennessee, Arizona. It doesn't matter at this point what state it's going to happen in. We have the recipe to make it happen and make it successful, which is the most important part.
Yeah, I think right now from the numbers that we've ran, it's 70% brick and mortar stores and 30% mobile. But within the next 2 to 3 years, it'll probably be more of the 50-50 range. So
I don't know where you're getting your numbers from, but it's probably even less than that, honestly. I mean, well, it's going to get even less. It's going to get even less. It's going to get less. I truly believe. I mean, mobile has exploded since the pandemic. Absolutely just gone crazy. I mean, when you think about March 2020, we had 4 vans. We're only in 24. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's not, you know what I mean? Like, we were getting vans every 3 weeks during the pandemic. Every 3 weeks we were getting another van. Order. Like, I mean, what does that tell you? The pandemic literally brought the spotlight to this industry. And it hasn't changed. It's not like we've declined. If anything, we're putting more vans out there.
And how many pets per van are you running now? Because, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are sitting out there like, well, I don't know if I do a franchise because, you know, you live where I live in the middle of cornfield, Indiana. But what's, you know, one van and like how many dogs, you know, do you need to fill that van? And how do you schedule and make sure people repeat?
We've always ran our vans maximum, because what I tell people is you're paying the same to have that van sit in your driveway for 30 days. The insurance is the same. All your business expenses are the same for having that van. So now it's about how much money can we make using that tool that's in your driveway. And if you're not using it to the fullest extent, you're, you know, like when people say, like, well, how do you know when to expand? That's really, you know, that's the real question, is how do you know when to expand, or how many dogs can you do in a van? I'm never impressed by number of vans. Number of vans don't mean anything to me. Somebody can have 60 vans and 20 groomers, and that doesn't mean anything. How much money is being made, or how many dogs are being groomed in that van, which is actually the most important, number that we look at, because obviously it's dollars, right? So our average groomer's doing 6 dogs a day in any van, period. So yes, some days she might do 8, other days she might do 4. One day she's off, one day she does 9. The average, we're talking, is about 6 dogs per van. The average during the pandemic was over 10, because we couldn't get vans quick enough because of all the backlog of parts and all the shortages. So we were having 2 shifts. So we were making groomers work 12 to 14-hour days, right? Or 7-hour days and longer amounts of days, and they would take on a night shift. So you'd have a groomer working 4 days a week, just 12-hour days, and being done. And then now that van's free for the other 3 hours. The more you can pump out of a van, the more you can make. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, the numbers get way better once you pass 6 dogs. You know, if you could do 9 dogs in a van or 10, you're going to start seeing crazy money, and still operating at the same expense. All right, a couple more dollars for gas, no big deal. But like your actual, you know, your insurance doesn't change, nothing changes. You know, you're using a little more supplies, but I'm saying the gross that you're bringing in on anything over 6 or 7 dogs consistently, you start noticing a significant difference. And that's what actually was able to help us buy way more vans, was we were doing 10 plus dogs per van per day. And that's like time and a half of a normal operational suggested.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
we would consider a full schedule 6 dogs.
Correct. So if
Okay.
you're doing 10, you're like, well, now you're doing time and a half and more. So you'll be able to expand time and a half quicker.
And then like what kind of reschedule do you have the clients on? Because I'm sure that's a big part of it. Is it 4-6 weeks, and then how far out are you setting them set up for the year to make sure they're coming back constantly?
Very good question. It's funny because, so Long Island, when we first started the business, we never required any type of reschedule. She would try to ask somebody, hey, did you want to rebook in 4 weeks? Long Island demographics, people don't like to commit. They're just like, no. 10%, 15% of our clients will rebook, believe it or not, only.
Really?
That's it.
I would have thought that would have been way higher.
So if you go on our calendar in February, there's like 100 dogs. And you're like, wait, you have this many vans and this many groomers and there's 100 dogs scheduled for the whole month. Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah.
But come February, I'm going to be begging groomers to work overtime because there's no more room on the schedule for clients. It's just what it is for Long Island. Now you have Florida model, completely different. Those people down there, they rebook their clients for the entire year. They have a credit card on file. They book them out for the entire year. I don't know how that girl even knows her schedule for the entire year. It's a logistical nightmare of business.
Yeah.
But we don't actually control that end of it because we're not the groomers. So when the groomer goes there, we do have groomers on Long Island who book, like one groomer, Julie, she booked all of 2025 for clients. All of 2025. I have other groomers that don't even book their next appointment. And then Florida, it just seems that the Florida groomers, they book out their clients for the rest of the year. I think it's going to come really down to the groomer themselves and how they're going to push how hard they want the client. Some groomers just want to know that, hey, I'm going to be doing this many dogs. This is my income. This is where I'm going. This is what I'm making. And other groomers are just like, I don't really care. And at the end of the day, our groomers always do 6 dogs a day, whether it's a new client, existing client, whether they rebook them. We have online booking. We have live secretaries in the office. So do I wish every groomer rebooked and I didn't have to have office staff all day answering phones and tending to that? Yes. We try to give even a little incentives to grandfather people into pricing. So, hey, if you book for all of 25 and you book all your appointments now, you won't sustain any increases in 25. Oh, okay. Puts you on the calendar, one less phone call for the office, makes me happy. That's worth an extra whatever for me. So I'd leave you grandfathered in at that pricing. So we kind of run it like that, but we leave it up to the groomers and we don't really require any 2, 4, 8, 6 week, 8 week commitments. But we do say that our pricing is always based on dogs that are groomed on a regular basis. So if we get there and your dog's not groomed,
Matted,
you're going to be paying significantly more money than our quoted online pricing.
So how with the people that are scheduled out further, how do you guys deal with cancellations?
24 hours before, $100 deposit refunded. Anything less than 24 hours before, you forfeit your $100 deposit. It's always been our reschedule, thing. We don't have a hard time refilling our schedule. Somebody's always willing to move up one sooner. We pretty much don't have a problem putting someone else in that spot almost immediately.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
So that's like the part that I always enjoy the most. Just having met them last night, you guys have 2 wonderful boys, 6 and 4, Justin and James. How has running this business, the joy it's brought to you guys, and how has it changed your life? I know you mentioned earlier the time that you have and like being able to set your schedule, but how do you guys look at it as parents? As something, is it something you want to pass to your kids, or how is it giving you more time with your kids? And tell me a little bit about that.
It's a lifestyle for
Family
sure.
aspect, yeah.
I mean, the rough life is our life. It is a rough life for sure. And our boys, they see our whole act all day. And little Justin, the groomers will come by to pick up some shampoos, and he'd be like, "Oh, let me help you." He'll go grab them and help them out and go clean up their truck for them. So they'll definitely, be part of it at some point or another, whether they want to or not.
Yeah.
They
have no choice.
Right. But yeah, I mean, again, this is a lifestyle for us. And it's awesome. I mean, our whole relationship is built on the business, and our family's built on the business, and
They were in the belly listening to the buzzers since before they came out. They know nothing but the buzz.
I was still grooming
Buzz,
9
buzz.
months. I was still trying to-
Well, she gave birth May 2020, pandemic.
Yeah, that was the
She was-
time
she was
to be
working
a
here.
groomer.
Yeah.
I actually had
Didn't give birth
fun.
into fan,
No.
right? All right. I was
No,
like, that'd been a
well,
wild
I
story.
at that point, I was scared to be driving around, so
Oh,
I
sure.
had.
Yeah, I was saying, how
I
did
didn't
you
even
fit in there? Because
those
that's a
trucks.
tight fit.
So, but people were so they needed their dogs groomed, so I was come meet me at my house, and I had cars waiting down the block, and I'm like,
During the pandemic, we didn't have to drive anywhere. It was
Yeah,
so crazy. We
everyone
parked the
met me.
van out front, and people would come to the house and stand 6 feet apart in March,
Right.
April, and May of 2020, waiting for their dogs to get groomed. You didn't have to go anywhere. They came to us.
That's wild.
They stood outside, and we grew. Yeah, and you worked all hours of the day and night. You know, they came to you. Like, you didn't have to go anywhere. You were able to groom, I don't know, 15, 20, like, and you had 2 groomers, so it was like in, out, in, out. It was an assembly line.
everyone
It
was
insane.
home too, so it's like you put everything in map out, and it was like beep, 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 and like there were no jobs like more than 5 minutes apart.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
But I
you
think-
really picked
I
and
think-
choose who you wanted.
I think really at the end of the day, business is freedom. They're learning that. They're seeing that. I find myself explaining to him, I'm on the phone, and you know what it is? I don't realize that they're even there half the time. So I'm just doing business, and they're just sponging.
And it's amazing how
and
much
I
they pick up.
Yeah,
And
and
like
I,
a 5-year-old that's just like, how'd you remember that?
and then I get off the phone, and then I find myself explaining about how, you know, the generator broke and he has to go to the shop, and, you know, we have to bring the truck, you know, like, I'm like explaining to him what's like the chain of events of what's going on, because he just heard the whole conversation. It's going to be a snap, and he's going to be, you know, either changing oil or, you know, changing tires or whatever's, you know, it's just, it's part of our lifestyle. And if it's not that business, it's going to be franchising. How deal?
And I think,
Selling it somehow.
I think it's cool from just like a fatherhood perspective, because like obviously you want to give them more than you had, like
Way more.
growing up, but then it's
Yeah.
like also that balance where you don't want to give them too much to where
Yeah.
they're, you know,
Right.
entitled, and it's like, oh
Correct.
crap, like
Correct.
I created a little monster.
No,
But it's,
respect and
yeah, it's cool to see them get to watch you guys have that work ethic, and then hopefully can still, you know, respect it, and then, you know,
continue it.
Yeah.
continue it and have that desire, you know.
Yeah.
No, they love to
They
be
do love
part of it, and we let them. You know, we like Justin. You do this. Can you restock the shampoos in the garage? And I'll give them jobs to do, and he loves to do it. They love it. You know, they like being part of it, and you know, we make them part of all of our other events.
Right.
You know,
Oh,
they
I'm
have
sure
their
they've-
own Rough Life shirts.
Yeah, I'm sure they become family with the groomer too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the groomers. Remember, the groomers existed before the kids existed.
Yeah, that's a
Some of them, yeah.
Some of the groomers were here before we were even married. So you know, it's a journey.
That's really cool.
It's definitely a
It essentially became like that with family. And then
Right.
your niece does like your oil changes and grooms too. Is that correct?
I delivered that girl.
Yeah.
I literally delivered her 19 years ago. Yes. Yep.
Holy
And
cow.
she started grooming the day we got the van as Emily's first helper. She was the
Yeah,
first
she was
person
10
in the
years
van.
old at the
10 years old. Let's not get the child labor laws.
I didn't hear anything.
She was driving around 10 years old in the van with her just grooming and
just
helping and
helping.
vacuuming and doing everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
She
And then
just
she went
loved it,
into,
just
she
like-
loved it.
Yeah.
She turned into being a groomer, and then you know, she learned over time, and then obviously
Yeah.
she just learned how to groom, and then she went to Bosie's for mechanics, so she's very mechanical.
Yeah.
She does like brakes on her car, oil changes. She's very mechanical, and she's amazing. She's a good kid. She goes to college. She's very smart. She's very respectful. My mom raised her, so
Yeah.
you know, absolutely amazing. Same product as me, just saying.
Yeah, your mom did a good job. Like
Thank you.
having met her last night, like that was such a cool family dynamic, and then to like hear her story coming from Egypt,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
you know, like raising you guys.
She had an arranged marriage, by the way.
No, we didn't get
Yeah,
into
so
that.
yeah, she had an arranged marriage, and they got married and got on the airplane in their wedding gown and suit, and came here to America in their wedding. They have pictures at JFK Airport, like in their wedding gown and suit, on the airplane, like fully clothed, dress. Yeah.
Got married in like
An hour later, quarter flight to USA.
and never
JFK.
left.
Never left. Never went back.
That's incredible.
Yeah, 42 years ago.
Dude, we might need to do an interview with his mom. just for like fun, because it is like just the 2 hours I had with her, like
Yeah.
incredible like life and perspective. Like that was so cool.
Thank you.
It's good to be back home in Granger, Indiana after 3 days in New York. We want to thank Chris and Emily Elias, The Rough Life, and their staff for the invaluable information they shared with us. And we appreciate you riding along.